Welcome to Ignite Your Confidence for women in leadership who want to speak up and stand out. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Here you'll get all of the tips and tools that you need to stand out with unshakable confidence. Let's jump into today's episode. Today is all about how to stop leaving money on the table. I am really passionate about this, and I've seen a number of examples where people have been leaving money on the table as the receiver of this. And I never want anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in the working world, wherever you are, when you are producing or giving something of value that you're selling, whether it's an idea or a product, you always want to make sure that you are not leaving either money on the table or opportunity on the table. Opportunity meaning the chance to be in circles that you want to be in, sit at tables that you want to sit at. And that is why I want to talk about this today. I'm very fired up about this. I want to give a couple of examples first, and then I'm going to give you 4 tips specifically to help you with this. First example, this happened a few months ago. I was speaking at an event during the month of International Women's Day. That was in March of 2023. There was a woman there who I struck up a conversation with. We really connected. And then she proceeded to tell me that she was a Mary Kay consultant. I said, no way. I used to sell Mary Kay back when I was 18. And I know the products have changed a lot. And I would be super curious to learn more about what they're like now and all of that. And she said, oh yeah, they've changed so much. They're so great. And she gave me her card. We connected on Instagram, and then no follow-up. No follow-up. Big mistake, like Julia Roberts said in Pretty Woman. Big mistake, huge. If she had responded to me, well, not even responded to me, if she had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try some of the products, if I was interested in getting together for a facial where she could show me some of the products, which is what I used to do when I was a Mary Kay consultant back in the day, but there was nothing. And what's so interesting to me is that I could have been a customer of hers and potentially a big customer. I always tell people I'm an easy sell. If you show me your value and you can help me see why your product or service would be valuable for me in my life, then I pretty much will sign on the dotted line. Now, I'm not a pushover by any means, but if somebody convinces me and says this is why it would work, then I'm all game for it. But if you miss an opportunity, you will never know. So that's one. The other one is another situation where it was a service provider, and I mentioned I was interested in learning more about it. Probably not right away, but maybe down the line. So what happens? I get an introduction to the person that I might be buying from or would have been buying from. And she wrote me a very nice email and said something like, I look forward to connecting with you down the line when you might be interested in this. She could have said, do you want to set up a call now? I would have said yes. And if she had set up a call now, then I might have been a customer of hers. But the odds of that happening now after she missed this opportunity is not as high. People want to be pursued. And when we're not, sometimes the ball gets dropped or we move on to other things or somebody else swoops in and they nurture you better and then you decide to go with them. So that's actually a really good number 5 that I did not even have on here that I'm going to get to here. So I might add 5 to the list. Okay. The next example was me at a street fair in San Francisco. This was such a good example where somebody missed an opportunity once again. And I'm looking at rings, fairly high end, not super high end, but let's just call it what it is. It was $100. And I thought, oh, I really like this one, but I'd prefer this one. So basically the one that he had on a bracelet, I wanted on a ring, but smaller size like his other ones. So he said, well, take a picture of both and then I can make it for you. But he never said any means of follow-up.
What he should have done is he should have said, let me take a picture of that to make sure I have it right. Get your email address. I will reach out to you. And by the way, would you like to put down a deposit of 50% today to guarantee that I will do this ring? And then he'll tell me when he would give it to me. That is what he should have done. Leaving money on the table. And that's only $100. Think about some of the higher stakes deals that we have going on in the business world. So here are my 4 tips to help you with this. And we might do that bonus number 5. It might be built into the others. The first one is to recognize that follow-up is critical. They say with high ticket offers, you need to follow up a minimum of 9 times. I have nurtured people sometimes over the course of years. So don't be surprised when it takes months or even longer. And don't give up. Most people on average give up after 2 follow-ups. Some people don't even follow up at all. And I recognize this can be a full-time job. And I also recognize that many of the tips that I'm going to be offering today are mostly for entrepreneurs, but they still apply to so many of us because we all have to ask for things. And we've got to make sure that we are relentless in our follow-up, especially when we want something. The other one is to ask for the business. Ask for what you want. If you just leave it as a passive ask, like, well, if you're interested, let me know. That's what so many people do. Don't be so many people. Be the person that actually asks directly for the business. Some of the examples I already gave are perfect examples of that, where people didn't ask and they didn't follow up. So asking for the business can be as simple as saying, would you like to learn more? Would you like to set up a call? I'm free on this day or this day. Do either of those times work for you? Baked into asking for the business is a lot of times we don't anticipate the next steps, especially in email. I see this all the time. And this is a classic example of this is when you're trying to get together with friends or even a colleague and you say, would you like to connect sometime? And that's all you say. And you wait for them to respond. Instead of that, anticipate the next step and say, would you like to connect sometime? Here are the dates that I'm available. What works for you? Here's a calendar link that you can use, or write back to me and we can figure out a time, whatever is easiest for you. You always want to be thinking about what is best for the audience. Number 3, people want an invitation. They want to be pursued. This is really important to remember. Think about how we want to be nurtured, and related to this, most people are not thinking about you all the time. I hate to say that, but it's true. People are busy, they're distracted, they're interrupted all the time. Think about your own life. Think about how you make buying decisions. And when people follow up, ask for the business, and pursue us, that makes a big difference. So make sure that you recognize that people want an invitation. They want something to choose. It's like options, why multiple choice tests or multiple choice surveys are a lot easier to respond to than an open-ended answer. It's the same thing for those of you that are on social media. If you're doing surveys or you're asking questions either on LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever, I've noticed a huge difference when I ask a forced choice question on Instagram, such as, do you like to travel? Yes or no? It's really easy for people to click on that. So make your invitations easy. But when I ask a question, tell me your favorite place to travel, I don't get as much responses because then they have to actually type out a response and send it to me. These things are really critical to keep in mind of ease for your audience. How do you make it simple? How do you make it easy? And remember that people want to be pursued. And then the next tip, number 4, is the mindset that you have to get over. You are not bothering anyone. Let me say that again. You are not bothering anyone when you call them, when you email them, when you follow up. This is what I hear a lot of the time. People go, I don't want to bother people, or I feel like I just feel uncomfortable calling, or I hate to ask. I maybe if they were interested, they would have called me or they would have emailed me. Not necessarily. Again, think about your own life as a buyer. Think about the times that you pulled the trigger and clicked yes to purchasing whatever it was, or you said yes in person compared to someone else. And this is how we have to remember it. I actually really appreciate it. Here's another example. F45 in Oakland really impressed me. It's a gym. It's one of the top 10 gyms in the US right now, as far as a brand, bigger brand, F45. And I remember doing the 7-day trial for free and then thinking, I wonder what they're going to do after that trial. And it's not like I was trying to test anybody, but I will tell you, on the 8th day after my trial was done, I got a personal phone call. The manager of the gym, was asking me about the membership. And she asked me if I'd like to join and at what level. And I said I still needed to think about it. So she did say that she would get back to me today, and she hasn't yet. But this is such a good example where I couldn't remember the prices. Honestly, she wasn't bothering me. I was really impressed that she called. What was a good example is I was eagerly looking forward to that email, and she may still be sending it to me today. So I'm not trying to badmouth her here in front of thousands of people that are listening to this. She was a delightful person. And I was so impressed that she had that follow up. And then I really looked forward to the email because I was thinking, yeah, I think I do want to join that, but I can't remember the packages. How many were there? And this is another good example, actually, that I didn't have as an official tip, but keeping your offer simple. What would make it an easy yes for someone? I remember my boss used to say back in the day when I reported to someone, make it impossible for me to say no. And her point was, people often come with almost like this rescue wish of, somebody rescue me, help me. What do you think I could do? I want to do more in the company. I want to move up, but I'm not willing to really say what I want or whatever. And this is where owning that, saying, here's the problem that we have, here's how I can solve it, and that's what can make a big difference. And now I got off on a little bit of a tangent, but remember, you're not bothering anybody. It's really important to ask for what you want and make it simple so that it's easy for them to say yes. And that's going back to my boss now. I remember her, just that make it impossible for me to say no really meant show me the value. We have to be able to communicate our value for someone to be able to make a decision. This is another tip. Nurture your audience, your listeners, whoever it is. This is the reminder to nurture relationships, whether you're selling a widget, whether you're selling a service, or whether you're simply an employee in a company. Nurture people around you. Be kind, be thoughtful, be generous. These are all common sense things, but people notice that. It goes back to that Maya Angelou quote, people won't remember what you said or what you did a lot of the times, but they are going to remember how you made them feel. Give them a good experience, make them feel good, and the rest is history. If they like doing business with you, if they trust you, they're going to buy from you, or they're going to choose you as a person to promote. Because when you can communicate your value and sell that in a way that solves a problem for someone else and makes you fun and interesting to work with, then it's pretty easy to move forward. But a lot of times we don't think about it. Let's review. Number 1, follow-up is critical. It can take up to 9 times or even more. I even heard somebody else, when I mentioned 9 times, they said, Karen, I think it's up to 15 right now. That's a lot. Number 2, ask for the business. Number 3, pursue people. They want an invitation. Number 4, get over the mindset that you're bothering people. Number 5, nurture those relationships. When you do that, you're going to have a lot greater chance of closing deals or getting promoted or moving to the next level or getting what you want. And that will help you to avoid leaving money on the table. We've got to stop that. By the way, for those of you that aren't subscribed to my 9 words to avoid and what to say instead, jump on over to my website, KarenLaos.com, KarenLaos.com, and click on that freebie. You'll get a PDF, and you'll also get on my email list so that every week you can get more tips and tricks to help you with confident communication. And as always, if you know of anyone that is looking for a speaker, I would love to connect with them. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and stop leaving money on the table.
And that's a wrap of another episode of Ignite Your Confidence. I'm your host, Karen Laos. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. If you're interested in more tips and tools around confidence, please join me over in my Facebook group called Ignite Your Confidence with Karen Laos. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.